On the banks of the Ganges lies the spiritual town of Halisar. And it was there, in the humble mud house of the Vaishnav devotee Hare Das, that a baby girl was born, filling the little home with light. Soon, people began talking about her. How could such a beautiful girl be born into such a poor Kaibarta family? Deeply devoted to God, the young girl had little interest in playing with dolls. She spent most of her days worshipping and helping her mother, Rampriya Devi, with the household chores. With her 2 elder brothers, her parents, and her widowed aunt, she was the beloved jewel of the entire family. One year, during a religious festival, Babu Raj Chandra Das arrived at the Triveni Ghat in a magnificent boat to take a holy dip in the Ganges. Having lost his wife in the very year of their marriage, the young Raj Chandra remained deeply saddened. He was the younger son of Prithviram Das, one of Kolkata's wealthy and prominent zamindars. During that same festival, the 10-year-old girl had also come to bathe in the sacred waters of the Ganges. The ghat was vast and crowded. From afar, countless traditional boats and grand barges could be seen gliding across the river. Pilgrims had traveled from distant places to take part in the holy occasion. And there, amid the lively crowd of village women and young girls at the bustling ghat, he saw her. An extraordinarily beautiful young girl, shining brightly like a star. And the moment Raj Chandra saw her, he made up his mind. If he were ever to marry again, he would marry this girl. Exactly 1 year later, in 1804, on an auspicious day in the month of Baisakh, Raj Chandra married the youngest daughter of Hare Das. Zamindar Prithviram Das welcomed his daughter-in-law into the family with great pomp and splendor, adorning her with diamonds and precious jewels. After their marriage, her husband changed her name. She was no longer Rasamani Desai. She now had a new identity, Rani Rashmoni, and it is by this name that history remembers her. Soon after her marriage, the young Rani demonstrated remarkable skill in everything she did, from her daily worship to cooking and managing the household. As she grew older, her responsibilities extended far beyond domestic affairs. With her husband's encouragement and support, her influence steadily grew in matters concerning land, property, and even legal disputes. After her husband's death, with the assistance of her 3 sons-in-law, the Rani did far more than simply maintain the estate. Through her remarkable foresight and capable administration, the zamindari continued to prosper and expand. Raj Chandra had left behind an enormous fortune. In addition to vast estates, lands, and several houses, his wealth included 6.8 million rupees in cash. In addition to this, records show that he owned shares worth 800,000 rupees in the Bank of Bengal. There was also a loan of 200,000 rupees given to Prince Dwarkanath Tagore, and another loan of 100,000 rupees given to the European firm Hook, Davidson and Company. Managing such an enormous fortune was no easy task. But the Rani's strength of character, foresight, and ability to maintain warm relationships made her respected and beloved by many. And whenever gentle words failed, she did not hesitate to use force. Yet history remembers Rani Rashmoni not as an oppressive ruler, but as a leader devoted to the welfare of her people. On one occasion, the British imposed a tax on fishermen who earned their livelihood by fishing in the Ganges. Those who failed to pay faced imprisonment, beatings, and abuse at the hands of the East India Company's forces. As soon as the news reached the Rani, she took extraordinary action. She had enormous iron chains stretched across the Ganges, from one bank to the other. The passage of the East India Company's large ships was blocked. As a result, their trade began to suffer heavy losses. The British even took the Rani to the highest court, but it was of no use. Left with no other choice, the British authorities were forced to accept her terms and withdraw the tax imposed on the fishermen. At Rani Rashmoni's residence in Janbazar, Durga Puja was a grand tradition. The celebration had been started around 1790 by her father-in-law, Prithviram Das. After the death of Prithviram Das, his son Raj Chandra Das continued the tradition of the Durga Puja. Following Raj Chandra's death, Rani Rashmoni took responsibility for the puja in 1836. Under the Rani's patronage, the grandeur of the celebration only grew. It was during this very Durga Puja that Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa is said to have served the goddess dressed in the attire of a Sikhi, a female companion of the Divine Mother. Now, let us discover the story behind Rani Rashmoni's establishment of the temple at Dakshineswar. While preparing to leave on a pilgrimage to Kashi, the Rani received a divine command from the goddess in a dream. Following this vision, she decided to build a temple dedicated to goddess Bhavatarini at Dakshineswar, on the banks of the Ganges, about 4 miles from Kolkata. Accordingly, she purchased nearly 20 acres of land from an Englishman named John Hastie. But then came strong opposition from the Brahmins of the time. From the purchase of the land to the construction of the temple, several zamindars joined forces and repeatedly tried to create obstacles. One wealthy individual even filed as many as 16 lawsuits in an attempt to stop the Rani, but none of them succeeded. Around the time the temple was being established, the Rani also filed a case of financial misappropriation against her eldest son-in-law, Raj Chandra. She even filed a property-related lawsuit in court against her younger son-in-law, Mother Mohan. Although she withdrew the case shortly afterward, these various disputes seriously disrupted the construction of the temple. The construction began in 1847 and took nearly 8 years to complete, at a cost of around 900,000 rupees, an enormous sum at the time. You may have heard the famous story of how the young priest, Gadadhar Thakur, once slapped Rani Rashmoni for allowing worldly thoughts to distract her during worship. Although she lived for only about 5 years after the temple was completed, during her final years, she stopped visiting Dakshineswar. She entrusted all responsibilities to her trusted younger son-in-law, Mother Babu. She lived in a 2-story house built by her husband in the Kaligat area, on the banks of the Adi Ganga. And it was in this very house, in a room on its northern side, that she breathed her last on February 19, 1861. Yet through the greatness of her character and the remarkable life she lived, Rani Rashmoni continues to shine brightly in the pages of history. And that was a brief glimpse into the extraordinary life of Rani Rashmoni. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more stories like this.